Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution. I'm Tired Edition. What's up? We're going to talk Midwest Premiere, which took place the last 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, down in Loves Park, Illinois. Do I sound a little congested? I feel congested. We've got cold weather. My weather bar said freeze, had like a red like exclamation point freeze, and it's like, oh, come on, this is nothing compared to what you're gonna see in 2 months computer. Come on. But yes, it's freaking cold. Gosh dang, it's cold. It was cold this weekend, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm like, my head is I'm a little, I'm not congested. I think it's the weather getting so cold, and then running around for 2 straight days. I'm sore. I shouldn't start this. This is what you shouldn't do when you're working in morning radio. So two things that we did, not exercises, but when I worked in morning radio, the number one thing was, don't complain about how tired you are, because you're supposed to be the entertainer. You're entertaining people. It's the morning. They're flipping tired too. You do this for a living. You get paid to wake up at ungodly early hours to entertain people driving to work. They're not happy. They're tired. They're going into a job. You're talking into a microphone for a job, and you're paid accordingly. So I shouldn't start my show at 7 a.m. Central. If you're on the West Coast, it's only 5 a.m. I shouldn't start out with how tired and sore I am, especially on a Monday morning. So I just broke the golden rule of morning radio. Don't complain to your listeners about how tired and sore you are, or how flippin' cold it is outside. They know, because you're in a nice warm studio or card room. They're scraping their windshields off and getting into a car that waiting for the heat to come on. Okay. So the second thing we did was, and one of my coworkers, I didn't do this. I just talked into the microphone. And I think he was a little younger, not much younger. He's a little younger. So he put a photo, and I think this was like one of our general managers like told him to do this, because the way he came across on the radio, this was for like it wasn't it wasn't soft AC. What was the hot AC? Maybe it wasn't, maybe top 40. I don't know so there's top 40 and there's hot AC. I think we were hot AC, where it's like adult contemporary. So soft AC is like elevator music. It's like, what do I think? I don't know. I'm going to date myself, go back into the 80s, Lionel Richie, stuff like that. Hot AC is like popular. And then top 40, Zach can probably, I see Zach's in the chat. Zach can help me out here. Hot AC is like the top 40, but it's like it's not like the rap portion, or like, because there's some top 40 hits that are a little too extreme for a radio station that's going to be playing in a bank. So we were hot AC, where we were playing the modern hits, but not like the rap. Hot AC without rap. Thank you, Zach, throwing in. Zach's another radio guy. So we were a hot AC station. So our demographic was like the exact opposite of this YouTube show. We were like, the age range was the same, but we were female orient. Because our station was played K100, always the best hits. So we played in banks and like the Dollar General. I remember I'm just thinking of businesses I would walk in and I would hear K100. I would hear my voice because I was voice tracked. And it's like, hey, I just heard you on the radio 2 minutes ago. I had a friend of mine who was, he was an Edward Jones agent, and his office was on, at this point in my life, I was working out. And I would run. There was a state park a few miles out of town, and I would go run. It was nice and hilly and trails, scenic and all that stuff. So I was on my way. I was driving out to the park to go for my run, and I stopped at Steve's office, and Steve had been like, I mean, he's old, probably 15 years older than I am, and he's been like, he did rate, like he called in, so he should have known this. He called in like every afternoon to do the market report. He sponsored the market report. So I popped into his office, and he's like, "You were just on the radio like 2 minutes ago. How?" And it's like, it's Macomb's small, so it's not that far. But he's like, "How did you get here so fast?" And I'm like, I recorded that this morning at 10 a.m. And he's like, "You're not live in the afternoon?" No. He's like, "I always thought you were live." So I played it off well. My recording was played off well. People thought I was live. Even guys that recorded segments themselves that were played back. I'm like, "Steve, your segments played at 5 and you recorded at 4. Yes, Rich, it's voice. Yeah, just little old voice tracking. So there's some morning radio background. Oh, did I even say what so Zach was not Zach in the chat, but Zach, a guy that I worked with. He kind of struggled with the demographic, which was, like 35 to 44 female. And so he had, and it was like, so our boss, our GM would be like, picture your mom and your mom's friends. They're like getting together playing bridge or whatever moms played. And so he had a photo of like 4 or 5 middle-aged women. And so he would look before he went on, he would look like, that's who I'm talking to my mom. So that was his trick. So let's get to the chat as I ramble on incessantly about morning radio, but at least I'm not talking about how tired and sore I am. Dan, what is up? Boston Smoke, good morning. Victor, good morning. It's only 37 and windy. I've got 34. It sounds windy. I can hear some wind on the windows. Zach and Porter in the house. What's up? People listen to you to escape. Exactly. They don't want to hear me talking about being tired and sore. Radio 101. Heck yeah. Dollar Box. What is up? Dollar Box, man. The Midwest premiere, we had some good dealers with some good bargain boxes. I'll only scratch the surface this morning. This is going to be more of a kind of a broader view of everything, but I will break it down. I'll share some of my pickups. I did some shopping. Sunday was, so speaking of that, Sunday was kind of a slower day as expected at the show, but Saturday's crazy because, I went in not knowing what to expect because none of us had ever promoted a 2-day show. So John, Mike, they run the Janesville Card Show, the Northern Illinois Card Show in Rockford, and myself, we collaborated on the Midwest premiere this past weekend. So I had no idea what, it's like, am I going to do a live walkthrough? And I'm thinking, damn, it takes me like 40 minutes to do a live walkthrough in Madison. And then I didn't bring my little tripod, so I would have had to like hold my phone like this, and it's like, screw it, I'm not doing. And it was busy. It wasn't for me, and just kind of running back and forth. It just wasn't. I wasn't able to space enough time to do that. So Saturday was just wild. Like, I was there at 5:45 Saturday morning. And so I was checking out, and then we did vendor check-in, which was a little more it was more intensive than I like thought it would be. Because I'm just used to like, yay, welcome to the Madison Card Show. And most of the guys, they've done it before, so they know where they're going. So I really don't have much. I'm moving some tables around at the Madison Card Show, which, by the way, is this Saturday at the Sheraton Hotel, John Nolan Drive, 125 tables, free admission, 9 to 3. It's also homecoming in Wisconsin. So Badgers play Purdue at 2:30. So after the show, you can go down to Camp Randall Stadium, watch some Big Ten football. So this Saturday, Madison Card Show. So I'm used to like my show where everybody knows where they're going outside of, first-time vendors or vendors that, may have moved spots. Where am I at? So I'm doing that a little bit. So this is like brand new to everybody, including myself and John and Mike. So So that was so Saturday was just kind of a whirlwind, especially in the morning hours. So by afternoon it was Saturday afternoon, and then Sunday it was just kind of like, okay, we know what we're doing, and now it's just kind of like all hands on deck, be ready for whatever may happen, which I can get into that as well. So where was I going with this when I started the bargain boxes? So by Sunday, it's slow. We don't have much going on. So relatively speaking. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna go dig. So I did let's see, I Jennings from Freeport. Nate was there. They have awesome bargain boxes. I go to the card shop and spend a few hours digging in the back of the shop a few times a year. So I was glad to see him because I haven't been down there since probably springtime. So I kind of flipped through the boxes on Saturday when I had time, and nothing caught my. I'd pick up a pile, nothing caught my eye, that's kind of how I shop bargain boxes. I'm going to pick up a few cards. I'm going to pick up a stack of cards. I'm going to go through, and if nothing really catches my eye, I'll get a kind of an idea of what's in here. So when I stopped, like, man, 3 or 4 times Saturday, nothing really caught my eye, and he had 50-cent boxes and he had dollar boxes. So here's where I made the mistake. So Sunday I went back. I had more time. So I started going through the dollar boxes, and there were a few cards. Saturday I was so busy. My head was on a swivel Saturday. So I didn't have too much time looking at cards because I didn't know what else was going on. So so Sunday I had a little more time to like look at the cards. So I spent some time in his so he had a dollar box of baseball, which was like serial numbered like 100 or less, all $1 each, and he gives volume discounts. So I'm looking through, and I pull a few Cubs, and I find some others that I think I can make. I'll get these for 85 cents, and sell them for $2.50 or $3. Basically, this practice to pay off for the Cubs that I pull out of here, because I pulled some Cubs, and I'll do a video and I'll share what I pulled from these boxes later this week. So I found some stuff. Craig, shout out to Craig. Craig came over. We hung out. That one of my favorite things about digging through a bargain box and doing it with and digging with somebody there is you can just chat, and you can, like, maybe you see a cool card and it's like, oh, hey, can you believe this is in the dollar box? Like, maybe you come across a Wander Franco rookie. I did not see any Wander Franco rookies in a dollar box, but marked down for sure. But you can say this, or like, oh my God, this is numbered to out of 10. Can you believe it's in a dollar? All that stuff. So Craig was there. We talked. His son Elijah just turned 16, talking about, he wants to go into selling cards full time, and just kind of talking about that, and just talking about life stuff. It's like it's like a therapy, and we talk about that a lot, like just looking at cards, and cards, like Zach mentioned in the chat, it's a way to escape, and just losing yourself in a bargain box. And I know Adam Dollar Box knows this, and Zach and Porter know this. Rich knows this. Rich and I at the National last year in Rosemont, we spent some time standing next to each other at the singles club, digging through dollar boxes. And so it's therapeutic. So then here's the mistake I made. I spent all this time going through the dollar box of serial numbers, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of like older stuff. And it was a lot of like late 90s, early 2000s. Things like Upper Deck, like when Upper Deck was making, like 2008, when there were like, so many Upper Deck products. The mistake I made, though, was right next to it was all cards are as priced. And I'm like, and I think initially maybe Saturday I picked up a pile and I saw like, $4, $5. And it's like, for $1 all day, but not for $4 or $3. And so I disregarded this, and I've made this mistake in the past where I've looked and I've just kind of like shunned a box and I haven't really given it a good enough look through. And that's what happened in this case. So, and I lost so much time, because by the time I was at Jennings bargain boxes, it was like 1 o'clock. People, dealers are packing up. It's Sunday afternoon. People want to get out. So it's like, damn, I wish I had more time to, look through all of these because I missed maybe 3 boxes of the cards are as priced. And I pulled about just as many dollar cards. I pulled a ton of Yordan Alvarez rookie cards. And then I told Craig this. And I'm like, I made a mistake at the last, or at one of the last Madison card shows where I pulled a bunch of the rookie debut Yordan Alvarez for $1 each. And I got them for about 90 cents. But I think they're in my eBay store for $1.50 or $2. And even with him hitting, they're still not selling. So I pulled a bunch of Yordan Alvarez rookies. He's playing well. The Astros are winning in the playoffs. I'm like, okay, this is my time. I'm going to redeem myself. So, and these were not the Topps rookie debuts. These were Heritage, and I think maybe like the Turkey Red. And then there were like 1 or 2 inserts I didn't pull, but I even left some in there. I left some for the kids. So I did count, like I picked up Heritage, maybe 8 of them for $1 each. And after a bulk discount, they were like 85 cents each. So I did look up and they're like $3.50. So that was, that's something that, normally speaking, it's like, how do you make a living spending 85 cents, selling for $3.50 after fees? It's not worth it. But in this instance, I kind of compartmentalized some of my purchases. This particular purchase was, okay, I'm here for the Cubs. And then this stuff, I just want to flip, and maybe I only make 50 cents on it. It's going to fund. Okay, I can. This is kind of like the hobby portion of it for me, where I'm buying Cubs and I'm buying this stuff to flip to fund the Cubs that I bought at this same booth. If that makes any, I don't track it. It's just I go with the gut, and so that's where I was at with that particular box. So Adam, I will do at least one video later this week with some of my pickups, and I'll probably do a video on those just to show off what I did pick up out of that. So let's keep going through the chat because I'm sure I'm like 30 minutes behind. Oh, we're only 17 minutes in, so I'm not too far behind in the chat. David, good morning. What is up? Dollar Box has some freezing rain. Yuck. Terry, good morning. Abraham, what is up? I saw Abraham yesterday. Good to see you again. Hopefully I see you Saturday in Madison. So there we are. We're behind. Rich is giving us some examples of hot AC and soft AC going back to the 80s. It's a throwback Thursday. Celine Dion, soft AC. Yes, there you go. That was one that I was thinking of. Who's the other? There's is it Natalie Imbruglia? That was one where we played it on hot AC, but it's like it's kind of one of those, like it's soft and hot. It works both ways. Let's see. There Rich says if you want 80s and 90s references, Journey for the hot AC. Zach and Porter said exactly what I wanted to say. Hot AC without the wrap. Tone Loc was wrap. Victor says no MC Hammer. I bet so. MC Hammer predates my radio days. By the time I was in radio, he was, nobody wanted to listen to him or Vanilla Ice in 2001. So there's Rich with the age demographic. Okay, 25 to 54. What did I say? I think I narrowed it down to 35 to 40. So 25 to 54. Yes, that is the demo. Randy, I met Randy on Saturday. We had a nice conversation. It was great to meet you. Thanks for dropping in the chat. He says there was a guy looking to sell his brother's collection who unfortunately passed away recently. I should have talked to him. I got sidetracked with the dollar boxes, and that's what happens. That's what happens. I did pick up a bulk collection that I will talk about that, and I'll probably do a separate video on that as well. Let me get through the chat, and we can talk all things Midwest Premiere. Zach and Porter, back to the radio. For example, Katy Perry had a song with a rap verse a few years back. The rap verse was excluded. TLC Waterfalls, hot AC would pull the left eye rap. I did not know that. I will say all this is dated knowledge. Oh yeah, I've been out of radio. Zach's been out of radio. I've been out of radio since, let's see, because I went to the university for 3 years. So 2010, I think, was my 2010, 11, I think 2010, let's just say 2010 was my last year in radio. And my last year in radio, we'll circle the wagons back to radio for a second. My last year in radio was so we were so K100 in Macomb, and that's where I spent most of my radio time. Was a hot AC. Now, then when we actually sold that, our company sold that radio group, and so I stayed with my company, but just moved to a different set of stations. It was Sunny 97.7 WMOI. Now, it was hot AC, but it was soft. It was not as hot as K100 because we played Delilah and the John Tesh radio show. Oh my God. I wanted to claw my flippin' eyeballs out. John Tesh and Delilah, if you're fans, good for you. Not my thing. Ugh. And then I had to listen to Delilah. And then I went in and I had to read the pork belly reports on the classic country farm station, which I had to call in for the numbers. And that was, at that point, I was kind of getting out of radio. I was getting, a little older. I was approaching 30. Now it's like, gosh, you're a kid at 30. I was approaching 30 and I'm like, you know what? I think I need to do something else with my life. And then I went into sales and hated my job for 7.5 years. It was like, hey, the pay was better, but I hated my life 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day. Rich says, did radio leave the Blondie rap in when they played Rapture? In New York they did, but I suspect Midwest not so much. Yeah, it's funny. So it's funny, Rich. And I'm sure you belong to some groups as well, Facebook groups. So I belong to a couple so I grew up around the Quad Cities, and that's where I worked in radio. So I belong to Quad Cities radio alumni, or I don't know, something to that effect, where it's like a historical, and people just post like old photos and like just different things. And we had a DJ who was, I think he may have left radio to go into like religion. He was a pastor, reverend, something like that. And he quit, and this was probably the early 80s. And this is I don't think Northwest Illinois is the Bible Belt, but very conservative Christians in that area. And so he was devout and quit his job over a song they played. I'll have to, Jack was his name. The DJ's name was Jack. He would always perform. My mom worked at a nursing home, and he would always perform because he was, I think he was also like a singer. And so that was his demographic, was the nursing home. So he would perform there. Let's see. Dan, what is up? Good morning to DR. Where are we at in the chat? It skipped ahead on me. Let's see. You can always tell voice tracking a bit softer if you are ramping up a post. Isn't that and here in Rich will understand, Zach will understand, anybody who worked in radio will understand the thrill of nailing a post. Like, say you get a 20-second intro and you have a short little bit or a promo you're reading, and you just nail that post, and you're talking, and then all of a sudden, boom, the vocals hit, or the intro to the song like ramps up, and it's like, oh, I nailed that. And it's like, I want to listen. That's going to air at 3:07. I'm going to make sure K100's on at 3:05 so I can hear myself nail that post. Let's see. Female 25 to 54, male 35 to 54. George is with us. What is up, George? Zach says, Bo is lucky that he will age with his demo of Hobby Evolution listeners. So here's another story. I want to shout out Wally, who's he's been a dealer at my show. He's done Rockford shows. I ran into him on Saturday, and I think I shared this with a couple people in a DM over the weekend. But we're talking, and he's laughing about the couch people references, and his son, and I don't know how old his son is, but 19, 20 years old. And And he's like, yeah, Dad put your show on. We were driving down to the card show in Rosemont, and he put your show on, and I fell asleep. And I'm like, you're not my demographic. I don't speak to the 20-year-olds. You won't get my reference, my dated references. But your dad's my demo. He understands. Rich says, Zach, it was so funny in the 90s when we had a mellow station in Dallas and the same format, same radio personalities in Oklahoma City. I remember when we got the technology to like send voice tracking. We used Audio Vault. If anybody's familiar with Audio Vault, we used Audio Vault, and then we were able to use an FTP server. And so we were able to drop tracks. And then I don't know how it worked, computer stuff, computer magic. And so, I would voice track for Monmouth or for Whitewater, Wisconsin, or Clinton, Iowa. And it's magic. And I actually, like, several years after I left radio, I think I was already in Madison. So we're talking 4 or 5 years after I had left the radio station. I'm driving up through northern Illinois, and I hear a commercial come on, and I'm like, that kind of sounds like my voice. That sounds like my voice. This is trippy. I don't do drugs. I'm sober. What the hell's going on? And it was an old commercial I recorded for Keister's Tire and Battery. I don't know. But it was played. We had the radio group I worked for has a station in Clinton, Iowa. And so it was a commercial that they have been a sponsor for so long. We're just going to keep using that commercial. And 5 years later, here I am driving up north, and I hear my commercial play with my voice. And that was trippy. When I was working in radio, I would hear that all the time. And it's just like, yeah, that's my voice. But 5 years later, it's like, holy crap, that's weird. ATX, what's up? Morning, y'all. 65 and raining. Rub it in, why don't you? 34, partly cloudy. I hear the wind. We've got freezing rain up north where the dollar box is. Let's see. Rich says, knowing they were voice tracked was interesting. Dan says, is there anything you will miss about this house? Oh, that's a great question. I may have to circle back to that one. Dollar Box says, I haven't been able to go to a show in a few weeks, hopefully in the next couple weeks. I'd love to see you in Madison next Saturday. I know it's a little drive for you. Madison Card Show this coming Saturday, Sheraton Hotel, John Nolan Drive, 9 to 3 free admission. Stay for the homecoming game. Rich says, speaking of shows, Dallas Card Show announced their 2023 schedule. Oh, excellent. So let's look that up. Is it DallasCardShow.com, I assume? Is it on their website? Let's see, DallasCardShow.com 2023 schedule. There we go. Because I do want to go to Dallas next year. So we've got January 12th through the 15th. That works. Hey, I won't butt up against it in January because I will be at the Cubs convention that weekend, I think. Let's see, March 9th through the 12th, May 18th through the 21st, July 13th through the 16th, September 7th through the 10th, and November 2nd through the 5th. So as I eye that Dallas Card Show schedule, I'm probably tentatively, I would probably do November, just because it's like 34 and freezing rain in Wisconsin. And so it'd be nice to get out of town for a few days and go to Texas. I know the weather in November can be cold there, but cold is relative, and cold might be 50. So I'll do November tentatively at the Dallas Card Show next year. So we shall see, because January I've got it's the same time as the Cubs convention. Our house project will begin in January. March 9th through the 12th, I'll be at spring training. I think, right, actually, because I'm gonna my spring training trip will be be around the World Baseball Classic, because some of the World Baseball Classic games are being played in Phoenix, home of the Diamondbacks. So I want to go to at least one World Baseball Classic game while I'm out there. So that leaves March out and my spring training trip. May will be, kind of in the final stages of our house. And, I've got the Cubs convention and spring training. So I'd kind of not want to do another trip first half of next year. July's freaking hot in Texas. And I love the heat, but it's July. The Nationals like the next week, right? Or maybe 2 weeks later. So July's out because I'll have the National. And that's, there's another expense. September, probably just, gaining my bearings. So November looks, I don't have any plans after the National for 2023. So I'm going to tentatively plan Dallas Card Show, November 2nd through the 5th, Dallas next year. So that's my thought process on the Dallas Card Show. Thank you, Rich, for pointing that out. Now at least I have something to go on, so I can start, make sure I don't make any other trips. So it's like, oh, I don't want to keep putting it off because I want to get down there. Most of all, just to meet some people I haven't met that are in Dallas, which I'm sure I'll probably some of those that I haven't met that live in the Dallas area, I will, might run into at the National next year. But I do want to get to Dallas. Let's see. Fall Creek Collectibles, what's up? Good morning to you. Zach and Porter says you should have borrowed Nolan's GoPro. Just make sure you turn it off when you have a bio break. There you go. Yeah, breakout cards. I was able to catch up with Ryan Nolan. He flew up from Florida. I'll go into more Midwest Premier talk. We're just kind of all over the place this morning. Let's see. Dan says, if you don't mind, please talk about the ejection. Let's see. So yeah, we had 2 ejections on Saturday, so I will talk about that. One was definitely far more serious. One was just kind of it is what it is. Herman says, good morning. Jumping in from my hospital bed to stay high. Catch the replay later. Herman, well wishes to you. Hopefully everything is okay with Herman. Mark Coyle, what's up? Good morning. Let's see. Rich says, when I ran shows, my monthly show was so much easier as I could go shopping. Definitely. At my old synagogue show, which was like a 3-ring circus, I could almost never shop at that show. We had prize tables, getting dealers to pay, talking to the customers. I never had time at that show. Here was the positive on that with this. The dealer check-in was a little more intense because, everything was like, it was either prepay before the weekend or you paid like, you didn't set up until you paid. So you checked in and you paid at check-in, which I like that. And that's something I may do going forward, is just like, hey, when you just pay when you get here. That makes it so much easier, especially when you get like, 125 tables is a large monthly show. In the grand scheme, it's kind of small, but it's, for me, it's like some dealers really like to talk. And so if it's noon, 1 o'clock, and if you have to run down like 60 dealers, 50 dealers, and you have this window and some talk more than others, it can get difficult, especially as you start getting into the lean hours of the day. Let's see. Rich talking about Natalie Imbruglia. Let's see. Johnny Boy Cards, what's up? Good morning. Max says, wait, does chat not like rap music? Best out there. I love rap. Snoop Dogg, Tupac, Dre. I don't like much of the modern stuff. I like and here's the thing. When I worked in so this is kind of radio centric today. So, he was the like VP of, I really don't know what he was like, the executive vice president of the station with like partial ownership. Basically, he worked for there was a money man that owned the group of radio stations. And then there was like, it was basically his investment. Like, he owns them, but hey, you run it, but you get X amount of you get 10% ownership or whatever. I don't know how it all worked, but the guy that during my time was in that position of like the actual leader of the group's radio stations, he was a big marketing guy. And he was was a big name at big stations. And he's referenced by his nickname in Howard Stern's movie Private Parts, because he was a suit at one of the radio stations that Howard Stern worked for in like the 80s. I think it was in DC. So Howard Stern references my old boss by his nickname, which, as you can imagine, was not a glowing nickname. So Don was a big marketing guy, and he talked about this, and it makes sense. The older I get, the more sense it makes. When I was 25, it's like, that doesn't make sense, because when you're 25, you think the music that's cool and you listen to now is, you think you're just going to you like new music when you're 20, when you're 15, when you're 20, when you're 25, but the older you get, the less you like the new music. And I just thought I was going to be hip until the day I died. And I'm not hip anymore. I was hip back in the day. No, I wasn't. I was a dork back then too. But he talked about, it's like you're in your like formative years, in your teen years, and your college years, like music speaks to you, and it reminds you of, when a song comes on, like think back to your favorite songs, and most likely they're from when you were 15 to 25, because it might remind you of a party where you met your wife, or I don't know, some other big life event that was positive in your mindset. And so it just like, oh man, times were simpler. I didn't have to worry about bills and all this stuff. So that really, like, I took that with me, and it makes a lot of sense. So I did not grow like with rap. I loved Snoop Dogg. I loved Dre, loved Tupac. But like the new like I couldn't even, like, Kendrick Lamar is a big name, right? I don't know. I'm sure if a Kendrick Lamar song came on, I would know it. But I don't. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't like sing it out. I couldn't like speak it out. I wouldn't know. But if I heard it, I'd be like, oh. And then somebody says, that's Kendrick Lamar. Oh, that's Kendrick Lamar. Okay, now I know. Okay. So ATX says, no, I just mapped it. It is roughly 1,200 miles to Madison from Austin. Excuse me. Maybe I will be able to make that drive sometime soon. That would be awesome. That would be totally awesome. I would recommend not doing that drive in November through February, and then March can be dicey. April, because I run it the third or fourth weekend of the month. April, you're probably okay. So like April through October, you're good. But November, December, January, February, March, I'd steer clear. If you're in a warm weather state, I'd recommend not coming to Madison in those months. Let's see. Dan says, I didn't mind Delilah for Christmas music. I'll listen to any radio station for Christmas music, because Christmas music is like transcends radio stations, because it's all the same. Let's see. Zach and Porter to Mark. Country demo, conservative talk, and sports about sums it up minus Christmas songs. Let's see. Where are we at in the chat? So we're talking Midwest premiere, and we're just kind of weaving in and out. Let's see. Where are we at? Here we are. Rich says, you're not a kid at 33. Good time Charlie's, good the blues. Mark streams everything now. I still listen to terrestrial radio. And it's just, I don't want to spend the money on a satellite. And I listen to podcasts in the car. My wife listens to Pandora in the car, or like audiobooks. I don't like audiobooks, so I do either podcasts or terrestrial radio. So that's kind of what I listen to in the car. Now, satellite radio is awesome. Like I had the last car I had, it had the free trial for like 3 months. I loved it, and it was my trial subscription ran up like right around Christmas, and I like kept talking. I'm like, man, I just don't want to pay for it. So my wife, it was a Christmas gift. My wife gave me a year, and I loved it. And then she's like, I'm gonna get you something else. Like I'll get you some other things instead of Sirius. And I was okay with it. Like I thought, oh my God, I can't believe I'm losing Sirius. And it's like, I think by that time I was listening to podcasts anyway, so I was cool. Every once in a while when I'm flipping through the radio stations and I don't have a podcast to listen to, it's like, damn it, there's nothing on to listen. Let's see. Rich says, yesterday, the last air check I listened to had a 15-minute interview of Rodney Dangerfield. That had to have been interesting. Randy says, all future card shows should be on AstroTurf, right? That was so the Midwest premiere this weekend was on an indoor soccer field at the Indoor Sports Center. Nice, cushy turf. The entire show floor was on the indoor turf, and it was super. The venue itself was so awesome. When we went and scouted, and I walked in, and I'm like, this is nice. What really made it for me, the bar restaurant, which I really didn't. My buddy Quincy came in on Saturday, so like mid-afternoon, I hadn't had lunch. I'm like, hey, do you want to have lunch? So we went upstairs, the bar restaurant. It was packed. The waitresses, like before they had that rush, they were able to come down. The waitresses took orders from vendors, which is that was so sweet. Like when I went up, one of the waitresses was like, do you want us to come down and ask dealer? I'm like, absolutely, that would be awesome. But then by the time like the lunch rush and customers were going up, they were like swamped up there, so they couldn't waitress the floor. But for a time being, that was an awesome perk to have. That was just, oh man, that was a great touch. So the indoor, the turf, and that was the first thing I noticed when we scouted, and I went and I walked out onto the soccer field. I'm like, damn, this is nice and soft. My feet won't hurt as bad standing at a bargain box for 2 hours. This is great. So yeah, the turf field, your scouting locations. I know it's hard to find those locations and getting them to a price where it's feasible. But damn, it was an awesome perk to that location. Rich says, listen to Dan Ingram sometimes if you want to hear someone in his WABC days. That was WNBC. WNBC. And he always nailed the post. Ricardo says, stop by Live Oak for about an hour. Venue is very good. A lot of potential. Thank you, Ricardo. Let's see. Did anyone go to a card show this weekend? Jenny asks. JG said, how many influencers were at the Midwest show? Well, I know we had two guys fly in. Breakout Cards, Ryan Nolan, dropped $20K. $20K. Ryan, my man. Ryan flew in from Orlando, Florida. Vil Graffs from Louisville, Kentucky. I know I said that in a Yankee fashion because Louisville, you're supposed to say with the fewest amount of vowels as possible. Louisville. So Vil Graffs flew in from Louisville, Kentucky. Rich says, speaking of commercials that last forever, the Prince Spaghetti commercial with Anthony ran for at least 8 years. A classic commercial, and I swear this is the only tangent I'm going to get on. The one commercial that there's probably a few, but at Christmas time, the Folgers, where Billy comes home, or Johnny, or whatever his name is, I think it's Billy. Billy comes home sneaks in and turns the coffee on, and Mom smells the coffee. The Folgers. I mean, that's just brilliant marketing, first off. But it's timeless. I mean, that's what makes it brilliant. It's timeless. That's like one of my favorite commercials, probably because just like my old boss would say, because it takes you back to like the innocent time, because that probably first aired in the late 80s. And I was a kid, so it reminded me of Christmas time as a kid. There's no better time than Christmas time as a kid. So that's one of my favorites. Let's see. Rich says, Jenny, we can talk about cards anytime. Radio is a far better topic. Rich says, you should have heard some of the references I used on Hobby Hotline last Saturday. I've got to tune in. Obviously did not catch Hobby Hotline this past Saturday. Rich says, planning on going to the fair later today, but there's a chance of frost in the outlying suburbs on Wednesday morning. So I feel your freezing rain pain. However, this in DFW, highs of the mid 80s by the weekend. That stinks because now we're going to be in the lows of the 20s the next couple days. Rich says the National is 2 weeks after the July Dallas show. So that's perfect because I want to have the Madison Card Show. Hopefully the venue will be open. I won't know for July. Let's see, January, February, March, April, May, June. So I won't know until April when I can schedule the July Madison Card Show. They're only giving me 3 months at a time. I don't know if I talked about that before, but yeah, we ran into some hiccups with the Madison Card Show for 2023. They're ironed out, but not to where I would like them to be. But it worked out to where I didn't have to actually relocate the show. So that all worked out. So I would like to have the Madison Card Show in July, the week before the National, the week after the Dallas Card Show. We had great success, especially this year, the weekend before the National. We had so many buyers come in to pick stuff up. I mean, I had multiple dealers tell me, yeah, I sold half my table, or I sold most of my table, and they were to buyers that were stocking up to take out to the National. Let's see. Rich says, I would recommend the May show myself. May just won't work for me because that'll be like the last, our house will be like in the final stages of its reno. So May just won't work. Let's see. Rich says, in terms of weather, unless it rains. Victor says, are you sure you want to book November? Cubs in the World Series 2023. I'm not optimistic. I'm not optimistic on that. Diego, what is up? Good morning. Rich says, remember when you charge to get into the show, it's much easier to eject any miscreant from your event. Dollar Box asks if I'm setting up at the National. No, I just walk the floor. Kevin Matheny was his name. Pig Vomit is still in radio. So did I on music. JG says Wu-Tang show on Hulu is excellent. Let's see. I'm going to try to get through some more chat so we can talk more Midwest premiere. Rich says 36 watching, 10 likes. We can do better. Thank you, Rich. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Also, if you're tuning in for the first time, this is kind of how it goes when I have a topic about 45 minutes, usually 30 minutes in. But it's been a couple days since I've done a show, so we're a little late. We've weaved in the Midwest premiere at times, right? I'll hit on it. So subscribe to the channel if you like what you hear. Let's see. ATX says next summer it is. Cooter says, good morning. Radio sucks as now you don't have to have live DJ playing music, and anything live is right-wing talk. That is kind of the not the right-wing stuff or the left-wing stuff, but the live DJs. Like, you just don't have, outside of, a live morning show, and even a lot of that's just filtered in national syndication. That is, especially overnights. Like, you had some weird stuff go on in the overnights in radio. Callers and DJs themselves. Let's see. Rich says, and they do 3 to 4 times a year, 2 weeks of free sat radio. Let's see. Rich says, Dallas, the 5th largest market in America, one of the most successful radio stations, voice tracked. Tells you all you need to know about radio in 2023. Ricardo says, bar restaurant looks awesome. Seen it, didn't go in. It was great. The food, I can tell you with assurance, not just from hearsay, the food was excellent. By the way, also, that restaurant, Fozzie's, is the name of it. That it was inside the indoor sports center, and it was right upstairs. So what was really cool, if you haven't seen any pictures, so Fozzie's overlooks the card show, and you can look up. There's 2 big screen TVs inside the restaurant that you can see from the show floor. So Saturday, college football games were on. Sunday, the NFL games were on, and you could look up and at least see it. Or you could go up there, and there were 40 TVs inside the restaurant. Food was amazing. I had the burger. It was freaking huge. Burger and fries. The fries were really good. Like, usually I don't like talk about fries, but I don't know how they make these fries, but they're better than most restaurant fries. So Fozzie's inside the indoor sports center was awesome. Service was amazing. By the way, it was their 2nd day open. And their service and food was like, I don't think I heard one complaint about the food or the service. Amazing. 10 stars. 10. So Let's see, where are we at? Zach says corporate radio destroyed the wonderful medium of radio. I would agree with that. Abraham says Lauren and I had a great time at the Midwest premiere. So cool to dig through the boxes on an athletic field. Skybox bar was great. Awesome. Rich says Ryan is an influencer. Absolutely. Kyle says it's always a welcome service as a vendor at a trade show when somebody offers to bring food to your booth. Most definitely. By the time I did waitress service for my buddy Mark. Mark is a dealer at my show in Madison. He sets up in Rockford, and he was set up at the premiere this weekend. And he's like, "Hey, are they coming around to take orders?" And I'm like, "I just went up there. They're too busy upstairs, but I'll take your order." So I was a waitress. I was most definitely the ugliest waitress in the house. But I think I did perform my service well. Let's see. Max says, what's wrong with that? Cooter, Pete. Oh, is it Pete? Pete, you're home. Pete. Let's see. Ricardo hit Loves Park and Orland Park. Let's see. Folgers, LAG, what is up? Dan with a link. Max says, how many trade-up challenges were there? Last Madison show was crazy. I didn't hear as many this weekend. Now, when I was in maybe it's because I was all over the place and I didn't, and that's one thing I think in a smaller venue, you hear some of this stuff. There were a few, like I heard a few, like the last Madison Card Show. It's like every kid was doing a trade up challenge, which it's great. It's great for kids to do it. When an adult comes up and does the trade up challenge, it's like, I understand it originated by an adult 20 years ago. This isn't new. And I've seen like things on Facebook where, oh, it's a kid game. It started with the red paper clip like 20 years ago. The guy who traded up from a red paper clip to a house in Canada. So it's not a kid's game, but it's like every, I'm doing the trade up challenge. I'm doing the trade up challenge. Yeah, it's out there. I didn't hear it as much as I did last month in Madison. Let's see. Rich says, by the way, read about the Folgers commercial. Some interesting theories about it. Rich, now you're going to have me down a wormhole, and I'm going to be Googling the Folgers commercial to see what you're talking about. Jenny says, did you buy anything at the Midwest premiere? Thank you, Jenny. Jenny's keeping me on track here. What was your favorite part and not so favorite part? So here we go. So Jenny, great questions. Thank you for veering me back on track of the Midwest premiere. Did I buy anything? Yes, I did. So from my standpoint, and I'm going to say I had, from all the dealers that I talked with, and I didn't talk to every single dealer and get their, reactions, but I would say all but two had like great days as a dealer sales wise. The two that said they were so were mainly bargain box dealers. So I found that interesting. Some bargain boxes I noticed were much more crowded than others. And I think that just, it's like if the bargain boxes weren't as bargainy as the ones that were crowded, then it's probably okay. The stuff just isn't attractive, or it's not priced as well, or it doesn't match up. So that's my theory on why maybe some of the bargain box dealers didn't have as good of a day. But as a bargain box seller myself, I've had those shows, and sometimes the traffic's great, but you just don't have the bargain box buyers, or maybe they hit up other bargain boxes, and by the time they get to your table, because actually both of the guys that said they were so were towards the back. The crowded tables seem to be in the front location. So that was interesting. Did I buy anything? Yes, I did. I think I bought from, let's see, my biggest purchase was actually from a customer, not from a dealer. Pretty early in the show on Saturday, and it was probably, I don't know, 10 o'clock. No, well, the show started at 10, so I guess it was probably closer to noon. I had a guy come up to me, and he's like, hey, are you Bo? And I said, yeah. And he said, somebody told me to talk to you. I've got a bunch of stuff that I want to sell, just like, in bulk. and he kind of gave me an idea. He's like, there's some RPAs, but they're like, guys that, flamed out. There's a lot of autos, there's a lot of relics, but it's not like big name stuff. It's not high end, it's low to mid end. But I'm looking to move it all at once. And I'm like, I'm your guy. He's like, well, I've got it in my car. So we went out into the parking lot. Love those parking lot deals. Opens up the hatch, and the first box is a 5-row. And he's like, my wife wants me to get rid of all this. And he's like, she wants me to get rid of it so bad that she alphabetized all the basketball. So like all the basketballs by last name, A, B, C through Z. So he's going through, he pulls out some Giannis. There's like 4 or 5 serial numbered Giannis cards, some RPAs of like random no-name guys that, but it's still an RPA, that's this is my wheelhouse. My lane is not Luka RPAs or LeBron rookies or Steph Curry autos, stuff like that. That's not my lane. And I'm okay with that. I don't want to move up. I like my lane. I like buying low, selling high, rinse and repeat. I like spending $1 and selling it for $5. That's my lane. Will I move up and do higher end? Never say never, but it's just, that's not I don't have any interest in doing that. I enjoy what I do. So I'm going through, it's like, man, this is a lot of stuff. This is like, but it's one of those things where the price has to be right. So, and I want to share how I perceive this lot. And I'm not going through it. And these are the tougher for me. These are the tougher ones because there's going to be some $20, maybe some $50. And as I found out, there's even at least one $100 card in this lot, which I didn't know at the time. So I'm pricing it out, and I'm running through my head. I'm counting how many cards, and I know Pepino Man, he's not in here this morning, but he laughed because every box I buy, I break it down as a price per card, whether it's a hobby box, a blaster box, or I'm buying in bulk. I want a price per card because I know that some of these cards I can sell for 10, 20, 40, but I know a lot of this stuff might only be $1.50, or I'm just not going to mess with it. It's going to go in a quarter box if it's like a Prism card because I can't feed scan it. So I'm going through, and I think 12,000 cards roughly, maybe a little bit more. But there was I'm trying to think because, and this is another thing, it's hard for me. It's like, is that a 500 count box? Is that a 700 count box? Is it actually 500 cards? So there was a 5-row box and it was full. There was a 4-row box and it was full. There was a 2 or 3-row shoe box. And then there were probably like 8, like 600 count boxes on average. And a couple smaller boxes, but I would say 12, maybe 13, 14,000 cards. So I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, what can I, what price am I comfortable with? And so I kind of had a number in mind, and I wanted to gauge his. And so as a buyer, I'm always deferring to the seller. He's got to put the first number out. I'm not going to throw the first number out. So I have a number in my mind, and sometimes that number may be, sometimes the seller's number may be less than what my target number is. It's pretty rare that happens, but it's happened a few times. So I have a number in my mind. I ask him, he goes, you've got to make me an offer. I don't do that. And I said, I want your take. And I'll give you the dollar amounts. So he said, I'd like to get a few thousand. And I think you can make some decent money on that. And he's probably right. But I'm not going to spend $3,000 on a bunch of Ike Nuwagu RPAs. And yeah, there's some nice stuff in there that'll move quicker than others. But for the most part, I don't know how fast I'm going to sell this. Although after the fact, when I tweeted, it's like I tweeted out 25 pictures of cards, and I have people interested on Twitter, and like 20 of them. It's like, damn, this maybe I should go to Twitter sales. So I'm like, okay, that's not going to be work. So I just flat out told him, I said, my number's 1,000, and that's my number. So if he would have said like 1,500, I would have probably said, here's my number's 8, and then we'll get to my target at 1,000. He's starting at a few thousand, so I'm just going to say 1,000 because I think that's fair for both of us. And I think, that for him, that's a great deal. And for me, it's certainly a great deal. And I told him, I said, I'm firm on 1,000. I'm not going to move off that. I know that's, 25 to 33% less than what you were thinking. And you can probably go back in and talk to a few guys in the show, and they might offer you more. I don't know that for, they may or may not. He may have already done that and struck out. So that's my number, and I'm sticking to it. And so he goes, and then the negotiate, and I'm not, you know how I am with negotiation. This is, I'll walk back into the show if it's $1 more. This is my number. I'm not going past 1,000. And he says, can you do 1,200? And I said, no, I'm at 1,000. Like I said, you can go back in and try to get more. There might be a vendor or two that will offer more than 1,000, but that's my number. And okay, I'll do it. So shout out to Henry. I had to do PayPal for cash. I thought I had enough cash on me. I only brought cash for change. I only brought my 1s, 5s, 10s, and a few 20s. Basically enough to like shop around, and if we need extra cash on hand, I had it. So I'm like, crap, it was a cash only deal. So I had to go in. So my shout out to Brad at Nelson Cards in Stoughton. He was my first guy, my first and only guy that I went to. I'm like, Brad, can you help me out? I'm working on a parking lot deal. I didn't bring enough cash on me. Shame on me. Can you do me a huge favor and PayPal, do a trade out for PayPal for cash? So Henry, one of the guys that was set up with him, had it. So thank you, Henry. So I got the cash, and we did the deal in the parking lot. I started going through it. You can go through my Twitter from Saturday night, pulled some great cards out of there. And I haven't even I've gone through, let's see, how many cards have I gone through? I've gone through I haven't gone through the 4-row box yet. So I've gone through about half of it. When I came home last night, I was so tired that how tired? It's an hour, and I feel like I could talk about how tired and sore I am now. I was so tired. I didn't want to look at a baseball. Everything that I bought, Jenny, because Jenny asked, everything I bought, I didn't even bring in to like tweet because I was so tired. I didn't want to look at another baseball card. Although I did get on Twitter here and there. We started watching The Watcher on Netflix, where I'm 2.5 episodes in because I fell asleep. My wife got through 3, so we'll have to rewatch episode 3. Great show. I'll talk about that another day this week, but we want to stick to the Midwest premiere. So I'm going to go back to Jenny, and let's see. So that was my first buy. As I rambled on, that was my first buy. And then I hit up some bargain boxes. I don't think I bought much else on Saturday. Did I buy anything else on Saturday? Yes, I did. I did buy. One dealer had, there was an Aaron Judge Rookie Gold Cup in his like $2 box, and those sell for 15 to 20. So I picked one of those up. And then he had some Cubs. There was a 1941 double play that I didn't have, Cubs, that was $10. So I picked that up. I think that might have been my only other purchase on Saturday. I met Randy on Saturday. I met some other listeners, and I forgot the names. I apologize immensely for that. One gifted me a box of Cubs with some awesome stuff in it. I haven't looked through all of them, but just as I flipped through as we were talking, some cool stuff. And then he had a Beckett Mark Grace. You know how I love old Beckett magazines, especially if there's a Cubs on the cover. And then he had a Geno Smith auto, and he's like, I pulled this out of a $1 box a few months ago. I want you to put this in your eBay store. He's like, they sell for about $30. Just gifted it to me. I'm like, that's amazing. So thank you so much for that. And then I think I had another Cubs box gifted to me. So thank you so much in some listeners to this show. So thank you for saying hello. I appreciate that. If you're listening right now, if you're live, drop a comment in the chat. If you're watching in a replay, make sure to comment. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Jenny says, what was your favorite part and not so favorite part? Okay, so this is great. So we're going to get into what Dan alluded to earlier. So I'll start with let's start with the not so favorite part, because I think last time I started ended with we don't want to end with the bad. So my least favorite part was theft. We had a couple instances of theft, which is just theft is rampant at card shows. And what I want to say is, number one, dealers, we have to be on the lookout, because this is, and I will say, so we have cameras. There were cameras in the facility, multiple cameras in the facility. The three promoters, we were all walking the floor at various times, just keeping an eye on things. We had 2 security guards. We had a hired security guard, and we had a uniformed cop in attendance. So we were doing, our due diligence to make sure that we can hold off. Now, we had a kid, literally a kid, 15-year-old kid, got caught, and this is teamwork. So I think one dealer caught him trying to switch out, and this was like a $2,000 card, this 15-year-old kid, and he got caught. And so it was reported. So for dealers, keep an eye out on your own stuff, and if you can, just keep an eye on your neighbor and other dealers. And if you see something, say something, because it has to be done like in the show. If I had an instance a few months ago where there were a couple reported thefts at the Madison show, and I'm walking around and nobody tells me, there's nothing I can do about it after the show ends. Like, why didn't you tell me during the show? So see something, say something, keep an eye out on your own stuff. And I know it's hard, and keep an eye on your neighbors as well. And that's exactly what happened, how this kid got caught yesterday. A dealer noticed something. He alerted somebody, security, Mike and one of our security guards tailed the kid. The kid noticed he was being watched. So both of them kind of like looked away, and he tried to see it, and another dealer caught him. So it took 3 people. It took 3 eyes on this little punk to catch him. So that's how, that's it. It's really difficult you can have everything in place like we did, and it still happens. So be diligent. And just as dealers, get a showcase. Don't put your most valuable cards, don't put cards in top loaders at the end of a table, because it's so easy just to knock them off the table. Keep the most valuable close to you, lock your showcases, and just keep an eye on things. That's the number one safeguard. Cameras, security guards, not enough. You've got to watch the stuff. So that's my number one advice. So the kid was caught, and we took him up to the uniformed cop, had a chat. They go outside in the hallway, and apparently he had been hitting several dealers. One of our dealers came out, and I was still watching up front. Mike and John were with the guys, with the cop and the kid. Dad was out in the parking lot, came in, and one of the dealers came up, and he's like, "Is that kid still here?" I said, "Yeah, they're." So I walked with him, opened up the case, boom, found I think 5 or 6 of his slabs. So got those, but who knows if he had others. He was hitting multiple tables. So we did have that issue. The kid got caught. Did everybody get their stuff back? I don't know. There could have been other cards in there. But by that time, it's kind of too late. After you let him go, charges were not pressed. And here's why. The cop said, we can press charges, but we've got to take we have to confiscate all these cards, like even yours, even though, you found your cards, they must go into evidence, and it's 3 to 4 months to possibly more before you get your cards back. So the dealer that had him, he's like, I just want my cards back. I don't want them to be locked up in evidence for 4 to 6 months. So that's why charges weren't pressed, because I know somebody had posted this in a Facebook group, and that's what, I would have pressed charges. Well, if you're in the situation, it's each person is different. And this particular instance, he was the one person that had him caught. So they were taken he got his cards back. So didn't want them put into evidence. That's the least favorite part of any card show, is theft. So the thing is, we're all well connected in this area with, I promote the Madison Card Show. Mike and John promote Rockford and Janesville. We sent information to Tony in Oak Creek. Austin, who runs the card show in Stevens Point, he was there. He knows who to look for. So he ain't coming into Madison this Saturday, or any of the shows in the area, because we know, and I've studied the pictures. I know who I'm looking for, so they won't be welcome in the Madison Card Show for sure. So that was the least favorite part. The only other instance, we had somebody sneak in before the show, which and like I say all the time, I don't mind early birds at my show. My show's free admission, and it's a small monthly show. And so if people want to come in, I know some dealers love it because they can make sales before the show officially starts. I know some dealers want to set up and don't want to be bothered. So just if you're coming early to shows that allow you in early, be respectful of the dealers. That's how I do it in Madison, but every show is different. We did not do that because it's a large show, and there's also $5 admission to the Midwest premiere this past weekend. So no early birds. So we just had one person sneak in, walk in the floor. So I had to, politely ask him to leave, and he was okay with it. So that was the only, those were the only two, unfavorable experiences that we had. Unfortunately, the kid got caught. All the dealers, we showed the picture of the kid. They all recognized him from various shows. So this could be the culprit of thefts at the Madison Card Show, thefts at the Oak Creek Card Show, and other shows in this general region. So his name's out there, his face is out there. Dealers know, other show promoters know. So it's unfortunate. It sucks. But that's something you have to deal with. And unfortunately, I don't think there's always going to be theft. There's been theft for since humanity began, and there will be theft until the end of day. Let's see. Where are we at in the chat? Burying the lead. I wanted to talk about the bad before the good. So what was my favorite part of the show? I think my favorite part of the show was everybody was happy. Dealers and customers. There was most dealers reported great sales. They had a good time. They loved the surface, the turf, the bar restaurant, waitress service for the most part. The venue was awesome. The people who run the venue were super helpful at the Indoor Sports Center. So it was just an awesome all-around experience. It was a great show. So the variety, and I told a few dealers that I think, we lost several dealers because they only wanted to do one day. So, say we lost, just throw a number, say we lost 25 dealers because it was a 2-day show. We maybe only gained 10 dealers because it was a 2-day, we gained dealers because it was a 2-day show and they wouldn't have traveled for a 1-day show. And those were like really quality dealers. So I think the dealers that we gained, the quality outnumbered the quantity is what I'm saying. So which provided variety for people. So we had great variety. We had bargain boxes and we had high-end stuff to where I think Ryan Nolan from Breakout Cards spent $10,000 on 2 cards at a table. So, and there were some big money deal. My buddy Brad, who I did the PayPal for cash, he's got a 61 Fleer basketball unopened pack PSA. He's got a 52 Bowman pack. And what was the other one? He's got 3 like really high-end packs. Are they legit? They're from Nat Turner's personal collection. Unique stuff that you don't see at every show. Let's see. Dollar Box says bought some 1939 play ball commons this weekend, getting into pre-war. I love pre-war. I bought some pre-war stuff. Let's see. I didn't buy any pre-war Cubs. I was on the lookout. There were some tables with pre-war, but nothing that I was really eyeing to buy. I was more inventory purchases for me this weekend. But I did buy some pre-war like non-sports out of a $2 box. So, and I'll share those in a video, in another video. Rich says, back in the day, my old friend Bob Brill did a series for Beckett.com about trying to get a $5 purchase to like 10K, and in 2 years he made it. Very nice. Let's see. Max says some bargain box guys also don't change their inventory a ton. That's another key. Inventory turnover is a must. And I know when I have slower sales, it's because I haven't updated my inventory. And then all of a sudden I have a great bargain box day. It's because I brought in all new inventory. So that's for bargain box dealers. Turn over your inventory, because that's the number one key for sustained and continued success is turning that inventory over. Jenny says, Max, that's so true. I always skip the guys that don't change out inventory. It seems like wasted time to dig boxes I've dug for the past year just to see if there's a couple cards I want. Absolutely. And I'm the same way. If I see some of the same stuff, I just avoid it. Dollar Box says, buy for $1, sell for $5. Me too. That's what the Dollar Box does as well. Love it. Dr. Beckett says, Dr. Beckett bought out a Dollar Box dealer at the National. Turned out to be a frigging pallet of cards. Oh my gosh. I love me some pallets. Good things the people at Beckett know him and like him and shipped it back from Atlantic City at no cost. That's awesome. Let's see. Yeah, the people at Beckett know him, right? I have looked through a small percent and he did very well. That's awesome. Donovan, what's up? Yeah, that is about $400 above where I would have been. Let's see. Where are we at? Where's the last comment? Jenny says he probably wanted 1,000, but didn't want to start there and have a counter of 500. That could be, his number realistically could have been 1,000. And just throw out as a seller. I'm hoping to get a few thousand, but I know I'm not. Could have been something like that. Let's see. 608 says, I have a parking lot deal for you this weekend. We'll send pictures. Oh, buddy. I like that. By the way, 608, I have some hockey stuff. So we can do, I don't know what you have, but let me know. Shoot me a DM and we can talk. And if you want some hockey, and my hockey is probably going to be bulk if you're interested in bulk. I do have some, I don't know if I've got some Alexis Lafreniere upper deck. I was going to throw those in my eBay store. This is like some insert set. I think it's his rookie year, but the Alexis Lafreniere collection. I don't know. I think there's 25 cards, so I can throw that in. Let's see. Jenny says, so basically your week is no file exchange. It's all about getting that bulk listed to get back to break even quick. Looking forward to those cards hitting eBay. And that's pretty much, and I listed a few cards right away on eBay. Saturday night, I listed a few cards and I've had some traction. I just listed 10 cards. Did I sell one? I've had some offers on a few. There's a Justin Verlander 2008 Topps Chrome Refractor that's getting a ton of interest. I've already taken 5 or 6 offers on it. I listed it for $10. I'm looking to get 8. I've got some 3, 5. I think I had a $6 offer, and I'm staying firm at 8 because there's been so much interest in 24 hours time. So I'm just going to stick firm on $8 to $10. Ricardo bumped into a lot of rookie dealers talking about how I can't sell at comps because I'm in it for too much. I hate that. Red light is here, but late, no problem. It's a Monday. I thought I was going to be tardy today because, like I said, I'm tired and sore. It's like this might be a 7:05 live, but I made it on time this morning. Ricardo says, I think I'm going to post a flyer at my table at or below comps. You will never hear I'm into it for way too much to sell at comps. And I think, and that is another thing where it's like, if a card comps for say $1,000 on eBay, you're not going to sell it for $1,000 at a card show. And I think some have that mindset. And I think a lot of that mindset comes from maybe being in it for too much or getting in at, I think the market's down. It's going back up, where I don't think it's going back up to where you think it might be going back up to. Will it go? Yeah, everything. The card market, and I know some people hate this analogy, but the card market is a lot like the stock market. just in the general sense of there's going to be dips. You dip, Daniel. You dip. There's going to be dips and there's going to be peaks. And we're in a dip. We were in a peak. And we're going to have another peak. And then it's going to be followed by a dip. It's the way things go. Ricardo says definitely have to look out after each other. Fall Creek says it was blasted on Facebook already. I did see that one of the dealers did put some of that on some Facebook groups, which, we were hesitant to put anything out because he is 15 years old. No charges were pressed. Him being a minor, it's sketchy. So I'm not going to put out any photos or names, but I will share the information with dealers. I won't publicly, share names or images here on social media or YouTube. But for dealers, I will, especially this Saturday in Madison, I will be showing the pictures and names this Saturday. Ricardo says showcases are a must with a lid down, not open. It's pointless. I agree. I totally agree. Jenny says we had 2 shows, one in town, one an hour away. The show promoter that lives in town and does this show didn't show up. He set up at the show an hour away. Talk about bad promoting. That is, I've never heard that before. That's pretty wild. So who was running the show if he's not there? Who was running the show? Let's see. Ricardo says, what was he swapping? Just straight taking cards? Was it particular cards he was taking? Ricardo. So the theft in question. So the first, I think when he was first noticed, it was an Erling Haaland Color Blast, $2,000 card. That was like, hey, this kid tried this. He was caught like trying to steal it, didn't get away with it. And that's when that dealer alerted security, and security and Mike were on it. He was taking, so it was it's in a Facebook group. I don't know what Facebook group it is in, but I know there was a Billy Ripken PSA 10, 89 Fleer PSA 10. There was a Joe Burrow, maybe a Trevor Lawrence. It was like some random stuff. Let's see. Dan says, where can I see this POS's face? Let's see. Rich says, I got much better dealers whenever I had 2-day shows. You'll get quality dealers that, are going to do 2-day shows and they're not going to spend time on a 1-day show. That gave them a reason to be there. Absolutely. Rich says, 1941 double play is pre-war. Yes, it is. That was the only Cubs pre-war. I did buy the double play. Let's see. Rich says next, because it's going to say, did we give up when the Germans invaded Pearl Harbor? Let's see. Max asks fall if there's a link. So I think I touched on everything. We kind of weaved in and out of my review, but overall, I think it was a great success. If you were there, I'd love to know your thoughts and your feedback on the show. There's definitely things in what I, kind of how I looked at it was Sunday was such a whirlwind and kind of take back, and we kind of enjoyed it in the moment. And now today I'm going to take some time. Okay, what needs to be improved on? And there were some things like definitely right off the bat, behind the scenes stuff that I don't need to get into, but there were some behind the scenes stuff that, we could have done things more efficiently, streamlined. As for like the actual show, I think more signage, especially with Wi-Fi, because there was Wi-Fi in the facility, with Wi-Fi information. One thing that I failed on, and really all three of us failed on this, is cross promotion. We didn't have signage out for our other shows. Now I was going around, I met new dealers. I talked to a promoter of he's promoting a show in the Quad Cities in a couple weeks. So we exchanged information. Of course, my regular dealers that set up in Madison, other guys that I talked to that, gained a couple dealers that'll do upcoming shows, but I didn't have signage out. And I think we all should have cross promoted our other shows. Some we didn't at all. And that was a big fail. Like immediately before the show even started Saturday, I'm like, damn it, we did not do enough cross promotion of our other ventures. So, I think that's definitely something that could have been done. Signage, maybe some more signage. It's kind of Yeah, I think the access to the show was, pretty simple. Like, here you go, but maybe some, uh, just some signage up front, like $5 admission, welcome to the Midwest premiere, right out of the gate. Other stuff, with Wi-Fi information here and there. Um, our cop that was on duty said, you should probably you should have signage where it says, theft. Cameras are active. Theft will be prosecuted. Signs like that, and I'm going to use that at my show. I'm going to try to find places to put signage. So it did give me some ideas that I can incorporate into my Madison show. And then I think for future shows we have some ideas that we can do better. So let's see. 608 says, I like how you guys promoted dealers on IG. Got to see who was going to be there. That was great. John and Mike did an awesome job with that. They ran the Instagram page. And I think I could have done a better job on Twitter with that. And I think I can do a better job. I'm going to kind of steal that idea for Madison. One of the things I need to improve upon is my Instagram, how to Instagram, because I know Instagram's a huge medium, huge platform in this market, in the card market, and I need to do a better job of being more active on Instagram and being more engaged with the dealers and promoting on there. So that's something that I need to improve upon. Randy says, can I ask a question? I need to get in contact with a dealer set up in about the middle of the room. He was heavy set, breathing pretty heavy. Hope that helps to identify him. Randy, shoot me a DM or an email, because I think I know who you're talking about. If you have an idea of what cards he had, that'll help me more. But shoot me an email or a DM, and I think I can get you into contact with him. Henry, what did I miss? You missed radio. You missed a lot of radio talk today. We were heavy into just radio talk. And you missed my review of the Midwest premiere. It was a great success. Post-game cards, good morning. Welcome to the show. So we're 90 minutes in already. So if anybody else has any feedback, if you were there at the Midwest premiere this past weekend, whether you were a customer walking the show floor or if you were a dealer set up, if you're here in this live, or if you're watching right now, listening right now, please drop a comment in the chat. Let me know what we can do. Actually, not negative feedback, but constructive negative feedback is probably what I'm looking for the most, because what we did right, we just continue to do. But it's what we maybe did wrong or what we can improve upon is going to help the most to make the next event better. So if you do have anything, if you're watching this in replay, drop a comment, let me know, and we can get to work on that. So that's what I had for today. Rich says, and we had some food talk, so that in radio made this a success all around as a chat. We weaved in and out, radio, food, and cards in the card show. If I want card talk, I can go to Sports Card Radio. There you go. And I love those guys. Those guys are great. So that's what I had for today. I will share more of Henry says SCR. Man, those guys went off on the deep end on Friday. I did not consume any hobby content Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So I did see some chatter I think Friday and Saturday. So I'll have to watch that. So I'm not aware of what went on, but I will have to I think Brian Gray was on with them at some point over the weekend. So I love listening to Brian Gray. So I know he's kind of you either love him or you hate him. And I love Brian Gray. I've never met him personally, but just engaging with him on social media and listening to him, I have a lot of respect for him. So that's what I had for today. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thank you for coming on. I will do tomorrow. I've got some shipping. Obviously, I was out for 2 days, so I'm behind on shipping a couple days. So I've got to get some shipping done. I've got to go through the bulk that I bought. But I do want to put out a video, and I'll try to do a video on maybe just one of my bargain box finds. I'll do a video later today on that. And then tomorrow morning, maybe we'll go into more of what I purchased and just do a show and tell from the Midwest premiere, just kind of piggyback on that. Again, thanks so much. If you were at the show, thanks for coming out. Thanks for supporting. Appreciate it. Randy, get in touch with me, and I can help you out there. Have a great Monday, and we're back at it tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central for Hobby Evolution.